So the dialogue continues, or the interrogation of Daniel continues. But are you sure that you were dead? The people of Nain lose their temper. Was he dead? What more do you want? When we put him into the coffin, he was about to smell. In any case, with all those balms and bandages, even a giant would die. But do you not remember that you were dead? I've told that I don't. The young man is losing his patience and he adds, but what are you getting at with all these questions? That the whole village was pretending that I was dead, including my mother and my fiancée, who was dying with grief in her bed, including myself, all bandaged up and embalmed, while it was not true? What are you saying? That in Nain, we were all children or idiots in a jesting mood? My mother's hair turned white in a few hours. My fiancée had to be treated because sorrow and joy had almost driven her mad. And you doubt it? And why should we have done all that? Why, that's true. Why should we have done it? Exclaimed those of Nain. Jesus does not speak. He toys with the tablecloth as if he were absent. The Pharisees do not know what to say. But Jesus begins to speak all of a sudden, when the conversation on the subject seems to have come to an end, and he says, I will tell you why. They, and he points to the Pharisees and scribes, want to prove that your resurrection from the dead was a cleverly contrived game to increase my reputation with the crowds. I, the inventor, you, the accomplices to deceive God and our neighbour. No, I leave fraud to worthless people. I do not need witchcraft or tricks or accomplices to be what I am. Why do you want to deny God the power of giving a soul back to a body? If he creates a soul and gives it when the body is being formed, will he not be able to give it back to the body when the soul, being restored to the body through the prayer of his Messiah, is an incentive for many people to come to the truth? Can you deny God the power of miracle? Why do you want to deny it? That statement by Jesus that he's not a man who engages in witchcraft or trickery. It reminds me of a book by Thomas Paine, one of the important figures in the American Revolution and the French Revolution, most famous for writing The Rights of Man, which got me all excited when I was an undergraduate. Not so much now though. Liberal stuff, 18th century idealism, not very realistic. But that's another story to go into all that. But he also wrote a book, and the name is on the tip of my tongue and I can't quite remember it. But it was basically explaining the miracles of Jesus. Or that people might have misheard something or not seen it correctly, or there were tricks of the light, or Jesus did engage in trickery. I think it's called The Age of Reason. But like a lot of things I think I'm remembering, I won't pin my flag to that mast. I'll check it out. The Age of Reason. Didn't read it, but I read of it. And that was characteristic of writers of the 18th century. They would accept that something happened in the life of someone called Jesus, but that because miracles are impossible, there needs to be an explanation. And fraud is one of those explanations. And because people would carry on magic tricks, people would perform magical tricks, then why not presume that's what happened with the Jesus movement? Well, Jesus answers that here. But of course, this comes over 100 years after Thomas Paine died. Well, more than that, maybe 140, 150 years before, after Thomas Paine died. But revolutionaries seldom get things right. So the Pharisees respond to Jesus. Are you God? I am who I am. My miracles and my doctrine testify who I am. Again, having paused already once, pausing again quite quickly. When Jesus says, I am who I am, it's a strange grammatical construction until you realise, you go back to Exodus chapter 3 verse 14, the burning bush, Moses removed his sandals. He's there facing a voice from this burning bush. He realises it's God. Simultaneously God and the angel, but that testifies to that Unitarianism is a false religion and that there's more than one person in the Godhead. But put that to one side. I speak more about that in my Hyde Park visits. God says, when asked by Moses, who are you? What name shall I give to the people when I go back to tell them about you? He says, I am who am. I am who I am. Or I am that I am. And this is what Jesus said, I am who I am. In response to the question, are you God? So he's clearly said he's God. In John's Gospel, he says again and again, I am. And this is pretty clearly not just a statement that he is. What kind of sentence would that be? It's like, I am X, Y, or Z. You usually finish a sentence, not just finish it on am. But Jesus is doing that in John's Gospel to underline that he is God. And St. John is quoting him, saying that to underline that St. John understands Jesus to be calling himself God, notwithstanding the fact, obviously, that the Gospel of St. John begins and ends with an affirmation of Jesus' deity, his equality, his oneness with the Father.